Alright guys, time to grab here back again today. Hope you're enjoying your day so far, and today we are going to talk about the maps in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. A big question mark in the professional community over the last few weeks has been, with the alpha coming out, with the beta coming out, are these maps good enough? In previous betas, a lot of the maps that have tended to be in the betas end up being in the competitive rotation. This year, a lot of people are looking at these maps and thinking, how many of these can actually fit in? How many other maps are on the way? And have Treyarch kind of abandoned, to some degree, the 3-lane design philosophy they've had for a number of years, and what could that mean for the competitive scene? Because in my opinion, maps are the most fundamental thing to, well, how enjoyable a game is to watch, but also how enjoyable and good it can be from a competitive experience to play as well. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you for doing that, really helps out the channel. Before we get into that, a couple of other things. Treyarch did confirm they've adjusted tuning on the Duster stock. That was the attachment that was making people slide like absolute crazy, so it's good that they've considered making these tweaks, and it seems like Treyarch is listening to some degree. And well, this came out from Tom Henderson a while ago, who tends to do some of these leaks around the Call of Duty game. He mentioned this back at the start of September. Black Ops 2 style 3-lane maps are back, and Modern Warfare maps are a bit smaller than previous years, so 4v4, the switch to competitive play of course, makes perfect sense. Have we really seen this reflected in the beta maps? I'm not really so sure, right? And maybe they're keeping some of the maps in reserve, what Tom's really talking about here, but really it's only Moscow that I can look at and think, well, okay, maybe this is kind of a traditional 3-lane map. But even then, it's definitely a large map, right? It's not a small map by any means. So I certainly do hope they have some tricks up their sleeve when maybe the beta drops next weekend. They add a new map into the game, and hopefully when the game launches, we get a lot of great maps to go along with that as well. The problem is, to me, that as we're going to look at over the coming minutes here, a lot of the betas in previous years have had some of the better maps in the game that end up being in competitive play. I think Moscow will definitely be there, but the rest of the maps, I mean, there's a big question mark in my opinion about them right now. Before we get into that, also wanted to mention this, that Activision had patented a new SBMM system, skill-based matchmaking, 6 months before the release of Modern Warfare. It doesn't just look into your kills, your score per minute, your win-loss, but it also takes into account your movement around the map. So if you're slide cancelling around like Simp and Shotzi and Abizi, then well, all of a sudden it knows you're a better player because you're using the movement mechanics in that way. Pretty remarkable. There's no guarantee that they actually implemented this into the game, but well, it maybe seems somewhat likely. So before we get into that, Adam Killer Sloss talking about how some of his issues are the maps in the game, and there was a cool clip I thought I'd share with you guys of pros talking about their expectations for Modern Warfare, and a lot of what they have to say is regarding the maps.
Honestly, all I want is good maps for the game. I don't really care about the guns or anything. Just as long as you have good maps to play competitively, like, it should be a good year.
Really, really, really good maps. That's something that we've been lacking for a while in CoD.
Just insane maps. I just want good maps. Like, I feel like that's what makes or breaks a game.
Good maps. We need good maps.
So everyone knows the maps are a massive deal, especially for competitive play. This was a tweet that Call of Duty did a while ago. What's your favorite map in the beta? Armada, Moscow, you know, Crossroads or Satellite? Most people voting Satellite. I suppose my favorite was Moscow. Cartel is a new one, which didn't seem like people really liked. And well, you know, Dexpot here seems to pretty like it, but Parasite isn't so convinced on that one. So these were some of the maps that were present in the beta. I'm not exactly sure what URL Mounted was meant to be here, but Cartel was in the game instead of this one, because Satellite was there, Miami was there, Armada was there, like the ship map, and then Moscow. And I'm not sure if Crossroads has been in the game yet, but it kind of reminded me of Grid, that Black Ops 1 map, like snowy, outdoors kind of stuff. Not really many traditional 3-lane Call of Duty maps. And I just wanted to compare this list we have right here to some of the maps we have seen in previous betas and how that is translated into competitive play. Because the question is, how many of these maps are going to be in competitive? My personal take is Moscow, I think, is pretty great. That can be a hardpoint map, it can be a search map, it can be a control map, to be honest, as well. If those are the 3 game modes, I'm perfectly fine to move with that one. But the rest of the maps in the beta, I mean, Miami might be able to work for search and destroy, but it's a very open middle of the map. It's probably not going to work that well for respawns. Satellite is just a very interesting map. It doesn't feel like a Call of Duty map, in my opinion, with the sand dunes out there. I didn't particularly like playing it, quite frankly, and well, the locations of the hardpoints don't make too much sense. Seems kind of random the way exactly the map layout is working. The middle of the map is, well, a bit of a cluster, to be honest. So not really a massive fan of a number of these maps. I think Miami, as I say, can be good for search. Moscow, definitely a solid map, but well, for the other maps in the beta, I wasn't exactly particularly impressed, and I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. So let's go back through some of the maps in the other betas. This was the Black Ops 3 beta. You had Hunted right here, and well, certainly everyone knows that Hunted was a search and destroy map in that game. We also had, I think, Evac is the next image right here. So Evac was played on pretty much all modes. It was an uplink, it was a CTF, it was a hardpoint, and it was a search and destroy at times. So, well, questionable map, but this was in the beta. We also had a Combine as well. So this one, initially people were playing this in like search and destroy and hardpoint and stuff. It eventually fell out of the rotation. And then the other map we had that was added a bit later was Stronghold, which once again was a fantastic game mode for pretty much all maps apart from uplink. It wasn't played on the hardpoint, search and destroy, and CTF were all played on Stronghold. This was, if you know, this may have actually been my favorite map in the entire game. So as we can see, the 4 maps they had in the beta in Black Ops 3, 3 of them were used in competitive play. Let's look forward then. This was Infinite Warfare. This is actually a picture of Breakouts, but I believe it was Precincts that actually got added a little bit later. This was Frost right here, which was played in uplink. Then we had Frontier, which was never played, but also Throwback, right, which is one of the best maps in the game. So these were the maps that came out in the Infinite Warfare beta, and Precinct, of course, when it did get added, was also then played in uplink in the latter half of the game in addition to Frost. And well, I thought those were both fantastic maps, to be quite honest with you. So it does seem like, to me, they tend to try and, over Call of Duty history, put their better maps into the beta. As you can see, this is World War II. We had Ardennes Forest in the beta. This was played in pretty much all modes as well. This is one of the better maps in the game, in my opinion, even though, you know, a lot of people didn't like it. But in terms of playing like traditional Call of Duty, it felt pretty good. It had 3 lanes. It made sense how the lanes were connected. But a lot of these maps in, well, Black Ops Cold War aren't necessarily obeying those, those traditional Treyarch design philosophies that we've seen in Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 4 to some degree. A lot of the Black Ops 4 maps played very much like a 3-lane design. This was a Point du Hoc as well in World War II. That wasn't ended up being played, but Gibraltar was also in the beta, and this was played in, well, Hardpoint and Search and Destroy initially, but that wasn't too good in my opinion. You know, and then this is Black Ops 4, so we had Frequency, we had Contraband, Seaside, Payload, Hacienda, and Gridlock. So pretty much all of these maps apart from Contraband, which was kind of the jungle one. Well, there's a jungle on one side and then like the sea on the other side, but all these other maps were played, right? Frequency was played for a lot of modes. Seaside was played in Hardpoint especially, and Control as well on that one. Payload was a Search and Destroy map. Hacienda was a fantastic map played for both game modes that weren't Control, and then Gridlock, I'm pretty sure, was played in all 3. So a lot of great maps here were in the beta last season for Black Ops 4, and we look now at this season, it's like, you know, where are all these great maps, Treyarch? Because frankly, I didn't think the maps in Black Ops 4 were so good compared to what we've seen in previous Treyarch games, and now we've got another Treyarch game where it's like, well, there's nothing really that particularly inspires me. This was the Modern Warfare beta as well, so it started with Azir Cave. That was played in competitive, at least for the hard points. We had Hackney Yard as well, so this ended up being played in competitive. Grasner Raid, I mean, like, let's just not talk about that one, never again. And then we had Gunrunner as well. I think the other maps were like the gunfight ones and the 32 versus 32 map you can see right here. But as we've gone through over the last few minutes, the vast majority of maps that have happened in the beta, like, you know, 60-75% of them tend to end up in competitive play. Is that even possible this season, right? Because if Miami's going to be there for Search and Destroy and Moscow's going to be there, you know, is Satellite going to have to be a competitive map? Because in my opinion, it doesn't feel great. But if that's kind of the best of the rest, as we have seen, that typically the Treyarch and co tend to put their better maps in the beta, and that tends to translate to a significant portion of the competitive map pool when the game actually does release. If that is the case this year, I think we might be in for a pretty rough ride, because as Parasite says, maps and the movement mechanics are my biggest worry. So, you know, mentioning the maps, of course, you can see right here. Crimsix also talks about Miami, that he can't see anything on it just because of the way the map is designed. And, you know, I can see that being an S&D map. I can certainly see Moscow being viable. But the rest of the maps that we can see in the game really aren't too good right now. And what else do Treyarch have up their sleeve? Because if they're talking about these 3-lane traditional Black Ops 2 map designs that were a little bit smaller, we didn't see that, let's be honest, in this beta. And that is the #1 concern for me. Because frankly, I don't really mind how the guns feel or how the movement feels or any of that kind of stuff. To me, the enjoyment factor in the game and also how good it is to watch and to play from a competitive perspective derives from how good the maps are. And I think that's the #1 factor that goes into making a good title, but also a good competitive title as well. And Treyarch typically have done a pretty stand-up job putting some at least solid maps in the game. Now, it also is good to mention the fact that they're bringing back these old school maps just like they remastered for Black Ops 4. So I think they're bringing back Jungle, they're bringing back Slums, but I don't think they're going to be bringing back like Standoff and Raid or anything as we know right now, which is somewhat unfortunate, bringing back Summit as well. So maybe these maps can work in a 4v4 setting and can kind of add on to, well, the other ones that we're seeing in the game right now. But, you know, is Slums going to work, let's say? Yes, we are back to 4 versus 4, but is Slums going to be a good hardpoint map now when, well, the sliding mechanic might be in the game, the movement is slightly different to Black Ops 2, it might not exactly flow the same as it did back in the day. So, you know, there's still questions to be asked. Like, yes, okay, we might get Slums in the competitive rotation, but will it be as good as it was? And are there other, you know, competitive maps in the game that Treyarch want to actually push here? And will we have to resort to DLC, kind of like we did in Advanced Warfare, and then with Valkyrie in World War II to actually get good maps maps in the game. Because yes, we're going back to a track title, which means so many good things on paper for the competitive season, but well, maps are the #1 driving force for me, and I'm not sure we're quite getting that right now. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching the video and making it this far. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the channel and helps the YouTube algorithm know you enjoy this content and other people like you may enjoy it as well. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you next time.